What's going on, fam? You know what it is. Let me ask you something. How would you like to hear the best way to waste 60 years of your life? Well, brothers, sisters, you about to figure this out now. The title should have said it all.
As our image reveals itself, the 1957 school year is about to begin, and an angry mob is trying to stop 9 black students from entering Central High in Little Rock, Arkansas.
The question I usually get asked is, were we scared? I think initially we didn't anticipate clearly all of the violence and turmoil that occurred. The first day that we attempted to go to school, 8 of us were at one part of the school and Elizabeth Eckford was at another part. And it was the mob that followed Elizabeth. Then you begin to feel that this was a very hostile, violent group of people.
Very hostile and violent group of people.
Even at that point, I told myself that if we didn't go through with it, didn't attend Central and backed out, it would just reinforce the view that the African-American community in Little Rock wasn't interested in making a change in things.
That's insane. Now, this took place in 1958, Little Rock, Arkansas, where brothers and sisters tried to go into the school system and integrate under the cover of the National Guard. You was going to say something, Cap? I'm joined with Captain Shaparna Paz, y'all.
Hey, shalom, Israel. Shalom. Good to be here, General Dewada.
The Most High, correct. So that happened back in 1958. And since that time, of course, black people integrated with the school system with white people against much violence and much trouble. And, of course, we believed that was a great and wonderful and intelligent thing to do, as the brother brought out, even though they didn't anticipate the violence, because once again, back then, they didn't realize what kind of monster they was dealing with. Okay? You gonna say something on that, Shabar?
If I could, I might say a little something.
Go ahead, please.
To think that type of angry mob would one day be in favor of educating black kids is insane.
Is insane.
It doesn't make any sense for you to not have even the integration process, you would have some type of safety net or set something up. Because you know that this took place like 60 years ago, like you were saying.
Right.
So you can't count on these people to be your to educate you. You should set something up for black folks to be able to educate themselves.
Right. It was
what I mean?
right. No, go ahead, Salah. It was insane to think that was going to lead to something great. So here we are 60 years later, 1958, we're now in 2018. Check out this CNN article on what is going on in Detroit schools right now.
This is another huge education headline. A judge just dismissed this case. This was a case that was actually brought on by the students themselves, suing educational officials in Michigan, saying that they were denied access to a quality education. And they pointed to, the schools, the overcrowded classrooms, lack of textbooks, black mold, rodents, didn't have pins. There was even, I think, one 8th grade student who said he had to teach 7th and 8th grade math for a month because they couldn't find a teacher. So last year, the state moved for dismissal, arguing the 14th Amendment contains no reference to literacy. And then last week, the U.S. District Judge agreed with the state on that. Horrible ruling.
Like the federal court decided, and the district court decided, that these black children have no right to literacy. They passed all them laws, had all them riots, put all them people in danger, got the dogs suck on people, people beat to half to death, massive incarceration, and here we are in 2018, and the school says, the judges say you don't have even a right to literacy. Read that article, if you will, for me, Captain Shapar, in the Daily Mail on what they said about it. She mentioned some of the stuff, but the Daily Mail mentioned some of it as well. Go ahead,
U.S. Court. Detroit students have no right to access to literacy. Let me see. On Friday, dumped out with the least desirable news of the week came word that a lawsuit arguing that Detroit students were being denied an education had been dismissed. Perhaps you remember the case. MT presented a cover story about it last year with the help of a public interest law firm.
Right. They went and got a public interest law firm for these students who thought, we might have to do what happened in Arkansas 60 years ago and bring the case again. Go ahead.
A handful of Detroit students charged in federal court that educational officials in Michigan, including Governor Rick Snyder,
the governor even joined in with them. Go ahead.
Denied them access to an education of any quality.
Right. To say that they were trying to say, based on what happened in 1958, that they had a right to an equal education. But the governor and the court said, hell no. You don't have no right to literacy. You don't have a right to be educated properly.
Right.
Insane. You got some more? Go ahead.
Okay. The lawsuit took pains to illustrate how Detroit schools ran under a state-appointed emergency manager were a welter of dysfunction.
A welter of dysfunction. Go ahead.
Overcrowded classroom.
Right, which is the norm. Nobody can learn in a classroom with 40 students properly. Go ahead.
Lack of textbooks.
No textbooks. No textbooks for students. Go ahead, Jabbar.
And basic materials. Unqualified staff.
No staff wasn't even qualified. Like, this was the product of integration. Here we are 60 years later, and you are wiped out as a people, man. You are wiped out as a people, and the few that do succeed because they force themselves into the white world so that they can get a piece of what's being given to that world. But your world is suffering bad. Go ahead,
Leaking roofs.
Leaking roofs.
Broken windows. Black mold. Contaminated drinking water. Rodents. No pens, no paper.
No pens, no paper.
No toilet paper.
No toilet paper in the bathroom.
And unsafe temperatures that had classes canceled due to 90-degree heat, or classrooms are so cold students could see their breath.
Damn, you breathing cold air while trying to learn. They had no intention of you learning and becoming a people. Go ahead. Was that it on there?
No, there's some more in there. I can
if
read
you don't,
on the whole
please
article.
give me a taste more.
At times, without teachers or instructional materials, students were simply herded into rooms and asked to watch videos.
Right. In other words, which is just what people do today with kids. They get kids, bring them over their house. When you got a bunch of kids and you babysitting, you turn on the damn cartoons and sit them in front of the cartoons so the cartoons could occupy them. You know what I'm saying? While you go on and do whatever it is you're doing. That's what they did in them schools. Go ahead,
One student claimed to have learned all the words to the film Frozen in high school.
Damn.
This is insane.
Go ahead.
The lawsuit even mentions one 8th grade student who taught a 7th and 8th grade math class for a month.
Damn.
Because no teacher could be found.
For a month, Shapar?
That's insane.
For a month, he taught the class 7th and 8th grade because they could not find a teacher to be in that class. Go ahead.
If this went on in white schools, there'd be riots.
Yes, it would.
All kinds of stuff going on. But because it's our schools, we got to suffer this type of
disrespect.
Kind of.
You right, because my goodness, you right. It would have been, people would have been fired, superintendents, it would have been all over the news. But this is the reality of integration, man.
Okay.
This is what happens when you turn around and integrate with another nation and give your soul over to them.
Right.
And now expect them to do the right thing by you. It is a foolish, foolish thing to do. You was gonna say something?
Yeah, if I could. You just did a show on where they were the food, they were trying to counsel the free lunches or whatever in some schools or whatever in Detroit or somewhere in Detroit or Chicago, one of them. Where they was trying to get rid of the free lunch program. Like these people they will cut you off and don't give a dang about your people or your students. And black people got to step up and care about their own. We got to. It's time for us to separate, like you said, and care for our own people, man. Because obviously, this integration, this civil rights thing, did nothing for black people.
Not a single thing.
You know what I mean? So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Listen, you're right. It did not a single thing for black people. Now, let's go drop some scripts on this here. Let's go to that one about choosing any of their ways.
Proverbs 3:31. Envy thou not the oppressor.
The Lord said, don't envy him, meaning you see him oppressing you as a people and have you down, and you see his riches and his wealth and everything he got. The worst thing you could do is envy him.
Okay.
Because the minute you envy him is the beginning of you trying to become like him. You trying to do what he wants you to do to receive in the hope that you receive what it is that he got to give, when that is such a horrible mistake, man. Go ahead, Art.
And choose none of his ways.
They thought they were being wise when they went and had them kids, they had them children doing what they were doing. As they had them children marching and being abused by them white people, they thought they were doing, a noble, righteous thing.
Right.
But what they didn't know is that the Lord was looking at that like, you are, you are sending these kids in to join the murderous enemy, man. And as a result, nothing happened in 60 years. They went through all that, got killed, beat up, all type of stuff happened to them, and absolutely nothing changed. Right. Go ahead, Al.
If I could.
Please.
If I could, sir. You struck on something real good, because you're always taught that the schools, before we integrated, we produced doctors and lawyers and all kinds of them black schools that we had that were our own schools.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And then when we integrated, we got, less and less educated, and, all kind of politics came up into it where it was hard for all kind of white education and all that.
Right.
Crept up into it.
That's right.
Where a lot of people wasn't even interested in learning no more.
Exactly, because
it
was right. You're right, because it was like we was losing learning to brainwashing.
Right.
And now we started to become brainwashing. And could I throw another tidbit in? This is probably a whole nother clip need to be done, because I just read an article where now historically black colleges, the #1 students in historically black colleges are now white.
Kind.
You know what I mean? Is that amazing or what?
Kind.
So the Detroit schools are destroyed. Schools all over the country are destroyed for black kids.
Right.
But in the historically black colleges, which was designed to bring higher education to black students, now they are completely filled with white students. I mean, not completely, but you get my point.
Right.
They are the predominant ones in them colleges. While meanwhile, black people, Salakia, died on the streets. You understand? Died on the streets for black people to get in these schools.
Right.
Like, black people died on the streets and fought for us to get in these schools against extreme hatred of white people in Little Rock and other places. And as a result, we sat up there. Here we are now, 60 years later, and the white kids is in the HBCs, in the black schools getting all the education. And the black students ain't in no school. They schools damn near burned to the ground or destroyed so beyond recognition that they can't even be used anymore. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. Go ahead.
And the fact that they came, it's like white people feel vindication when they come into your schools and take it over.
Yes.
It's like you can't have nothing with this white man.
That's right.
He wants to be a part of everything that you got. He got all the buildings, all the houses, all the land. And your black schools, he got to find a way to get in there and take that over.
He got to have that too.
He got to have that too.
Yeah.
You can't have nothing.
You can't have nothing. He got to get some of that too. You can't. What's wrong with you thinking you could have some of that?
Isn't that something?
Is that crazy or is that crazy? Go ahead,
Where you want me to go?
Go to the Apocrypha. Now, right, because let me just say that. Now, we're going to read a scripture in the Apocrypha that is a real scripture on how you were supposed to be under the Lord. This is a real scripture on the spirit that the mothers of these children was supposed to be.
Right.
They played Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King bought into their idea, pushed the civil rights movement, fought for us to get into them schools, and as a people, we got even more destroyed. Yeah, a few of us got up into them higher colleges, but we had HBC. We had historically black colleges, man. We had them colleges.
Right.
We didn't have to go to these schools to get those higher education.
Exactly.
Well, now we believe that we're getting a better education because we up in those white colleges. When you're not getting a better education, what you're doing is further destroying your black higher education. Like them HBCs was supposed to be filled with black people because black people were supposed to not even want to go to the white college.
That's right.
So they supposed to be filled into them black colleges and then getting that higher education, getting that higher degree, breaking into all the industries. Instead, when you go to the average community colleges around the country now, they filled with foreigners.
That's right.
And there's Arabs and Africans and Orientals. That's all who's in the community colleges now. And all white people are going to the HBCs. And meanwhile, black people is dropping out, falling out, on drugs, all kinds of stuff going on with our people because this was by design, man. This was not no accident. This is by design. So here's a sister who really understood the Most High and stuck with the Lord in these scriptures. You're going to see something in this here. Go ahead, Shapar, please.
2 Maccabees 7:28. I beseech thee, my son, look upon the heaven and the earth, and all is therein, and consider that Yahweh made them of things that were not, and so was mankind made likewise. Verse 29. Fear not this tormentor, but being worthy of thy brethren, take thy death.
Hold on one second. She said, but being worthy of thy brethren. So you can know the story. This woman had 7 sons, and Antiochus Epiphanes and them came down into Jerusalem and took over Jerusalem, the Greeks at the time. And they came into Jerusalem, man, and set up shop and started trying to dismantle our laws and way of life, which is what every empire does. You want to know if you under oppression or not? Watch how your culture is constantly demeaned. A lot of people got on us about hip hop music. How y'all gonna be playing that hip hop music? How y'all gonna be playing that hip hop music? Let me explain something. We play that hip hop music religiously, and here's why. One of the main reasons. It is highly hated by white people because of our culture. You silly enough to think that they think it's bad music. It's some of the greatest poetry that you ever saw on the face of the earth.
That's right.
But it is hated by them because it is something that comes from us. And I was just watching a movie just last night. They did a movie with what was the name of that movie? It was Chris Rock was in the movie where he had a twin brother. Bad Company, I think, is the name of the movie. Okay. In that company, it shows Chris Rock is, of course, the ghetto brother, and then there's another twin brother who is all the way up in the white man's world. And in that movie, Chris Rock puts on a rap music, and they talk about how a brother his brother hated rap music. And it was a real good look, example of just how it would be. If you was educated in the white man's world and taught by him and brainwashed by him and trained by him, you would hate black music as well. You would hate hip-hop music as well, because you would think like the slave master thing.
That's right.
But the other brother who grew up in the ghetto, who was just as intelligent as his other brother but had no education, he was listening to the hip-hop. So that was just a small tidbit of what they throw those in those movies because they got to demonize your culture. But this sister would not join. She told her last and youngest son, it's better that you go to your death than to fear this oppressor, which is strong for a woman to do after losing 6 sons. Right. Go ahead, please.
But being worthy of thy brethren, take thy death, that I may receive thee again in mercy with thy brethren.
Which is, again, another example of the proof of reincarnation. She knew it back then. She said that I might receive you again with your brother. She knew and had so much faith, this sister, that she knew that the death of her son meant nothing, that she would get him back because he was faithful, because he stuck with the Most High. She knew she would get him back. Go ahead,
if I can say
please.
something real quick.
Go ahead,
I don't
Cap.
want to take too much time.
No, get down.
Like she was saying, when she was mentioning the 2 verses up, the 28, she said, consider the world and the things that the Lord did. Like she going back to the laws of her forefathers. She's saying she thinks what they laid down. That's the education that we need to be teaching our people, man. Not this other stuff. Like the Lord should be at the forefront of any type of education that blacks and Hispanics receive.
True.
You know what I mean? Then whatever you want to learn, and you know what I mean.
On top of that,
right?
Your math, reading, writing, arithmetic, and all that, right?
Yeah, I mean whatever you in the world to bring your nation,
right? But without having no national identity and strength, and spirit, you ain't going nowhere,
right? And then when this man came down to torment them, she was like, "Don't give up the things that your people stood for, that your forefathers." You know what I mean? Like she bringing it right to the home, like with the way you're supposed to understand it. You know what I mean? And she had faith in the Lord. This is an extremely faithful woman right here. When she said, "I'm going to receive you again," she knew about reincarnation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Let me go verse 30.
Yep.
While she was yet speaking these words, the young man said, "Whom wait ye for?" Is that one?
That's right.
Yeah, whom wait ye for? I will not obey the king's commandment, but I will obey the commandments of the law that was given unto our fathers.
That is who you supposed to obey.
That's right.
Like if these brothers and sisters knew what we just dropped in this tape right now, they would have rejected that idea of integrating those schools. And guess what? 60 years later, the HBCUs would be the most powerful black colleges on earth. And black education would be excellent because guess what? Those HBCUs would have been turning out professors and teachers who would have then come back into their own neighborhoods and taught black people and raised up black people. And you would have had a perfect education system that would have been able to fight and come against this very man that integrated you into his education system and then stomped on you and destroyed your whole damn life. Go ahead, Paul. You got the last word.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing. That
Come
was
on with it.
What you was just saying, because black people do everything great, and the white man steals it and control and is lord over it.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
if we
right.
would have separated and have our own education, then we would get the credit for the great things we do. But a lot of times, black people, they don't even, like when I bring out black people invented this or that, or I say something, they be like, huh?
Yeah, they don't even know.
They don't even know that they did that.
Right.
I remember you did a breakdown, General, of during the Dark Ages.
Okay.
How black people was, how black people had rose to the power and was noble kings.
That's right. with
And
their
black
own.
people don't even know that.
Right. We started the coat of arms.
Right.
We got one day we gonna go. You know what I mean? Listen,
But
you
it's
right.
so heavy.
It's so heavy.
This education is not being taught.
And can I add one more for you if I could, Shapar? Could you imagine all these college teams with all these black players making millions and none of the black players getting any of the money?
Oh.
And these colleges is huge. That's why black historical colleges is suffering.
Right.
Because the students is in, all them white universities.
That's right.
And filling up stadiums and on TV and making millions of dollars off of them same black students that went and integrated in this nonsense.
Right.
Went and integrated in this nonsense. Now that you went and fought for all that, now guess what? Now all them students is in those white colleges, and the white colleges making millions.
That's right.
While the black colleges is falling apart and the black education is falling apart, and now you got to rely on white people and beg and take them to court to get a crumb. And at the end of the day, they say, well, look, you don't have no right to literacy.
Right.
Take yourself back to that mold-infested, broken-down classroom. Who told you you had a right to anything?
Kind, sir, kind.
Enough said. Enough said. We see y'all on the next one, y'all. I want you to stay strong in the spirit of the Lord. Hey, listen, if you like this tape, hit the like button and share it, man. Hit the share button. Everybody share it to their own personal Facebook accounts. Share this video, man, to wake up brothers and sisters all over this earth. Hit the like button. Check me out Monday night. I'm live every Monday night. I bring the heavy hitters in. We do it up live right on this same channel. I'll see you then, Israel.